Well, looks to a lot of people that the end is already in sight concerning this, but leaving that perspective of Adegborough, joining us this moment is Victor Odunaya. He's a public affairs analyst and a lawyer. Good morning and thanks for joining us. Well, ASUU, federal government, and this particular strike is 5 months now, not even 4.
Yes.
So, what do you make of it?
Well, it's too long. It's too long a strike. And both parties are to blame for this.
Both?
Both parties.
Why do you say so?
The federal government is insensitive to the feelings of the young ones. Those are the students. Those are the people that suffer for the sins of the two combatants. That is the federal government on the one hand and ASUU on the other.
I like your choice of word, competence. It looks like they're fighting.
They are fighting. If you look at the mood of Okukwe this morning, you will find that it's just trying to find a justification for their foolish actions.
On the part of ASUU, I mean...
On the part of the federal government.
Yes. That's the part of... You said you're both to blame.
Yeah, they are both to blame, but I was referring particularly to...
the federal government first.
The special advisor to the president.
Yeah. Okay.
You're not saying that we have paid 200 billion into the account.
But
have you notified the party that is involved? If there is no information to us, how do you expect us to say, yes, the agreement has been met?
What about the other party that's appearing to be recalcitrant, as in they're not budging? ASUU.
ASUU, yes, like I said both parties are to blame. When, as a union, they have served the federal government with the requisite notices of the fact that they want to strike. If you meet this obligation, we shall not go on strike. And the law requires that if that obligation is not met, ASUU will serve the federal government with notice that we are going on strike on so date. Once they have legally served the notice, they are not on illegal strike. So that's the difference. So now they agreed that the $200 billion will be paid as part of the agreement, even though they are now denying who signed the agreement or who did not sign, which is foolish. A government or federal government or any state government, they are units. The actions of one should be able to bind the other. The fact that it was a director or a PABSEC or this that signed is immaterial. In fact, the federal attorney general need not sign. He is the chief legal officer of the federation. Every action against the government has to be defended by him. So whether he signed for it or not, it matters not. He will be the one to defend whatever mistakes or action or court actions or whatever it is that the federal government has. That is one. 2, the federal government says, I have paid the money. From both ASUU's speech this morning, we are not notified. If they were notified, then they will not be justified in continuing their strike. Strike is the last resort for everybody.
Is the last
resort.
Because that's in the
Yes.
sorry to come in here. The interview you saw this morning was actually done yesterday. Dr. Okukwe was in the studios as well as the ASUU president.
Okay.
So from yesterday till this morning, that's 24 hours.
Yes.
In other words, you're saying that by now they should have given proper notification to ASUU.
To ASUU, if they have the notification, they will not be justified in continuing the strike. But then at the same time, we
can as well call it off today when they have the notice.
Yes, they could have called it off today. But even before then, let us assume that they met yesterday. What's wrong with Okukwe bringing a copy of their payment or any letter from the federal government and hand it over to the ASUU president? What stops Shanusi phoning the ASUU president, please come forward for a confirmation of an amount of money that have been paid, or send a letter. If he doesn't want to talk, call him personally. You can send a letter. Either the secretary to the state government, to the federal government, can send a letter to ASUU president and say, we have paid this money to your account, or to the central bank. Or the central bank governor can write a letter to ASUU president and say, the federal government has paid this amount of money into the account. That will have stopped all, yes.
Mr. Oduneye, one of the things I seem to get from your presentation so far is that you don't seem to like the instrument of strikes, and you think that it should be deployed carefully. Am I right on that?
When I say I don't like it, it's universal. Even the International Labour Organization says that you cannot just say, I disagree with you now. If I'm a worker here in China's television, and I have the leader of the and I said, we want 10,000 instead of 5,000 you are paying us. Then the next day we say we are going on strike. No, the law does not allow that. First of all, we must have met at the executive level of the union. We must have approved that we are going to go on strike if A, B, C, or these conditions.
Processes.
Yes, there are processes.
So it can be stopped midway and by resolving or acceding.
Yes. Then you meet the employer. This is our condition for doing this, and that. They will look at it. They have a period of time within which they will look at it and then say, yes, we agree, we don't agree. If they don't agree, then the union will reconsider that again and say, no, the law requires that you must serve notice on the employer that you are going to go on strike. Mediation first. If mediation fails, then you then look at the possibility of a direct discussion with the federal government in this case. If that fails, then you serve notice on the minister that by so time, if our conditions are not met, we are going to go on strike. So strike is the last resort. It's not just anything you can begin today and say tomorrow we are going on strike. No. Periods of times, different negotiations.
You have observed that, I mean, from what you said, you also said that ASUU would have followed these procedures, but there's also a language that is used. What you hear is that the strike has been suspended. They never say it's been called off. Like, we can go back at any point in time if any of the conditions which we have reached or agreements we have reached has been breached. You know, do you also think that that should be right? Don't you see that, or do you think that the unions can also be bullying whoever it is that they work for with the instrumentality
it's not
of strikes?
bullying. You know, they are hot now. They are hot. I mean, they are hot. For 4 months now, they've not been paid their salaries. That's on top of the previous disagreement. So they want to start them. That's another weapon that the federal government can use. So we're not going to pay your money, and if you don't pay your money, you'll be broke. You will not be able to continue with your strike. That is why unions now create what you call strike fund. They create a fund within their union. If they earn together this year, maybe 1 million, 10% or 20% or 25% are created into a special account to support them during the period of strike. So, not all unions are doing that in Nigeria now. I've suggested it to them what they can do and what they cannot do, because it's done other ways in other countries. And I wrote a book in particular in respect of this issue of strikes and no strike and so on and so forth before, which is in the market. I don't have copies now, but it's in the market. They create fund for themselves. But I think the federal government knew that they have no such fund with ASUU now. So they want to break their backbone.
Yeah, but I mean, the federal government is also saying that anybody who resumes work by the 9th of December would get all their arrears paid. Are you also saying that as a viable bait?
Are they sure? Are they sincere?
At this stage, can we still be talking
Are they
about
not
this?
mischievous? They have not complied with any of the conditions. Is it true that they have paid this 200 billion into any account?
So even
They have to be, they
can't
have
take
as
their
far to
word
be
for
sure.
it. You know, yesterday when Dr. Okukwe came, one of the things that he talked about was coming to the negotiation table with bad faith, or in bad faith. He said that they were meeting the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and that his word should have been enough for ASUU. Do you think so?
That is political language. When in the past, since 2009, we're talking about, the federal government has not deemed it fit to meet their obligations towards this union. How do you expect that union, that is ASUU now, to accept the oral comments or speech by either Okukwe or any one of them? Since 2009. They are jealous. The officials that are working for the federal government or who are deemed to implement these conditions, they are jealous.
Jealous of what?
Yes, one. ASUU will take so much money, or lecturers, as a body, they want to take so much money, they want to do this and that. They put impediment on their way.
Even when,
If you don't
when it's not going into their
their
personal account.
Oh, yes. I don't want to say from personal experience, but I want to say that from experience of what has happened in this country in the past, the officials too, they can be difficult. They can be clogged in the wheel of progress.